Hello, in this module, 3, 2, 1. Hello, in this video we are going to discuss the knowledge argument, which is an argument for dualism, dualism being the view that the mind is not physical, and in particular this argument is going to try to establish that something about the mind is not physical and cannot be explained physically. In particular, the idea is this. You might know everything physical about another being. So you know everything about what's going on in their brain and how their brain works and how their brain interacts with the environment. But the idea is, even with all that knowledge, you might still not know about the subjective qualities of that being's experiences. And if that were the case, if that was possible, if you could on the one hand know everything physical about another being, but you still might not know about the subjective qualities of that being's experiences, it would follow that those subjective qualities aren't physical. And that's the general idea of the knowledge argument. We need to get into some examples to see whether or not we think that's possible and what these subjective qualities are anyway. So there are two main examples that people put forward to support the knowledge argument. One is Neumanns Bat and one is Jackson's Mary example. We'll look at both of those, starting with Neumanns Bat. So to start with this example, we want to think about what does our own vision and our own hearing do for us? Well, our vision, among other things, it shows us where things are and what they're shaped like. So we get, through vision, a representation of we're aware of the physical layout of our environment. What about in hearing? Well, we learn when and where events happen, right? So when you hear things, what you hear is things happening. The noises are events. So the sound of a lawnmower is running, or the sound of a car moving, or the sound of a child laughing. Those are all events. We learn about things happening. You learn maybe also where those events are. So you hear it, oh, I hear it over there, I hear it over there, I hear it in front, I hear it behind. But you learn not very much about what the thing is that is making the noise. You just learn that something is making this kind of noise, and we learn, okay, which kinds of things make which kinds of noises, but that's not part of our visual experience. In particular, one thing that's not part of our hearing experience, and one thing in particular that's pretty clearly not part of our hearing experience, is what are the shapes of the different things, right? So I might hear, oh, there's a child laughing over there, but I don't get any sense of the shape of the child, for example, right? I may know what a child is, what the shape of a child is, but that's not something I learn about from hearing. I just learned that, oh, there's a child over there laughing, right? But I don't learn about its shape, the shape of the child's body. Bats, on the other hand, use sonar, and so this helps them to learn. They hear where things are, and they get some information about their shapes. How does sonar work? So the bat squeaks, it makes a noise. That noise is sound waves, waves in the air that travel out, right? And then they hit things and bounce back. And from that bounce back, the bat's brain is actually able to interpret, okay, where are the things that the sound is bouncing off of, and get some information about their shapes as well. So what we want to ask then is, what is a sonar experience like for the bat? And it's kind of strange, right? Because in fact, what the bat is hearing is they are hearing not events, but they're hearing things, and they hear the objects. In particular, they hear their shapes. What? So that's very different than any sort of sensory experience that we have. So here are two things you see. You see a triangle and a circle, and they look different, right? And the way they look like they have different shapes. And so our visual experience apparently makes us aware of those different shapes. And there's something about the visual experience that's different in these two visual experiences, right? Like right now, you're having a visual experience. Part of it is seeing a triangle, part of it is seeing a circle, and those visual experiences are different for you. Yeah, they have different qualities. What about the bat's hearing, right? What is the quality of the bat of the bat's sonar experience, of its hearing when it hears a triangle? What is the quality of its visual experience when it hears a circle? Right? What are the specific qualities that make those different hearing experiences? You're having two different visual experiences, or parts of your visual experience are different with the triangle and the circle. So similarly with the bat, something is different about its experience of a triangle versus a circle. What is that difference? the qualities that of our visual experience, it doesn't make sense to think that they're in the auditory realm. Auditory experience is very different than vision. So it doesn't even make sense to think that, oh, they're having our visual experiences. So what are the specific qualities of sonar experiences? Right? What is it like to hear something, for something not to look like a triangle, but to sound like a triangle? What is it for something not to look like a circle, but to sound like a circle? What does that sound like? We have no idea, right? And suppose you knew everything physical about the bat. You know everything about how the bat's brain works. You know, okay, when here's all the neural processing that happens when the sound is coming from a circle. Here's all the neural processing that happens when the sound is coming from a triangle. Would that tell you what it's like what it's like in the bat's experience for something to sound like a circle or for something to sound like a triangle? Well, Nagel thinks no. Nagel thinks it wouldn't help. So suppose you knew everything about the bat brain biology, which parts of the brain respond to which sounds and which objects in the environment, what behaviors those brain state causes. The claim that Nagel thinks is what the physicalist says is, oh, then you know everything there is to know about the bat's experience. And Nagel thinks, no, you don't know everything there is to know about the bat's experience. You wouldn't know what it's like for the bat to have sonar, and more specifically, you wouldn't know what it's like for something to sound like a triangle versus something to sound like a circle, right? What are the qualities of the conscious bat of the conscious experiences that the bat has when it's hearing things sound like a triangle versus sound like a circle? We don't know. Of course, we don't know right now, but also Nagel thinks, would learning all about the bat's biology and physiology and the structure of its brain and how the brain interacts with the environment and what kind of behavior that produces, would that help us? Not enough. Now, I don't know. Maybe through imagination we could figure out what it's like for a bat to have sonar. You might think that's possible. Maybe so. It's worth pointing out, though, that that's not going to help the physicalist. Because at that point we wouldn't be using just knowledge that's obviously physical. We wouldn't be using just the kind of knowledge that we collect through science. We would be using imagination, and in particular, imagination relying on our own knowledge of our own sensory experiences. So maybe that would be possible, but even if that were possible, that wouldn't obviously be using just physical knowledge. So if the physicalist is going to meet this challenge, the physicalist has to say, here's how we would learn about what it's like for something to sound like a triangle versus sound like a circle. And by the way, I'm obviously using knowledge that's just of physical facts. So I'm using fundamental physics and chemistry and biology and psychology, but I'm not using imagination. I'm not using my encounters with my own mental subjective experience, because maybe that's not physical knowledge anyway. So that's the bat example. Let's look at the Mary example. So Mary is a neuroscientist. She's a genius. In fact, she knows much more than we do. She's a neurocolor scientist. She knows all of the physical facts about color vision. She knows what kinds of light sort of how light works and bouncing off of objects. She knows what kinds of light is prone to give rise to which kinds of color vision. She knows which things look red to people and which things don't look red to people. She knows which things people will say are red, which things people will say are not red. All of that stuff. But in her experience, she's never seen anything red. She's only ever seen black and gray and white because she's stuck in a room where there are the only colors of anything in that room are black and gray and white. So she's never had any color vision experiences besides of black and of gray and of white on the one hand, but on the other hand, she's this genius neuroscientist who knows all the physical facts about color vision. So that's how she is. And then one day, she manages to escape the room, and she walks out. It's a bright day, and the sun's light rays bounce off that stop sign in front of her, and she has a new experience. She finally sees red, right? So the first thing that happens when she leaves the room is she has a new experience. She finally has this color experience. She has this experience that is, what it's like when something looks red. Something looks red to her. That's what happens. And then it's very natural to think, oh my gosh, I have now learned something. I now know what it's like to see red. Before, when I was stuck in the room, I knew all the physical facts about color vision, but I didn't actually know what it's like to see red. And now that I've had this experience, I've learned something new. I've learned a new fact about color experience. I've learned what it's like. I've learned what its subjective quality is. So Mary, before the room, before having any color vision, she does know all the physical facts about color vision. But it seems like she doesn't know what it's like to see red. And why do we think that? Well, it's very plausible that after she has the color experience, she learns, oh, this is what red vision is like. Red vision has this specific quality, and we don't have any other way of describing it than this quality, the quality that it has by pointing at that quality when you're having the experience. But we think, look, there she is. In both situations, she knows all the facts about color vision, but we think, oh, she learned something when she goes outside. And if she does learn something when she goes outside, then there's something that while she knew all the physical facts, she didn't know everything. And so there's something that's not a physical fact, right? The thing she learns when she goes outside. And what is that? It's what red vision is like. It's what is the subjective quality of red color vision like. So we can use these two examples to form a little argument for the conclusion that facts about what it is like to be in a mental state are not physical facts. That's a dualist conclusion, right? There's something about a mental state, namely facts about what it's like to be in them, that are not physical facts. If that's true, physicalism is false, dualism is true. Why do we think that? Well, we might think, look, it's possible to know all the physical facts about mental states, but not know what it's like to be in that mental state. And if that's possible, if that can happen, if we can know all the physical facts about a mental state, but not what it is like to be in that mental state, then what it's like to be in that mental state isn't a physical fact. It's something else. Why would we believe that it's possible to know all the physical facts about a mental state, but not know what it's like to be in that mental state? Well, these two examples are supposed to illustrate that Mary, before she leaves the room, knows all the physical facts about color vision, but she doesn't know what it's like to have color vision experiences. And why do we think she doesn't know what it's like to have color vision experiences? Because that's what we think she learns something about color vision when she leaves the room. And whatever it is that she learns about color vision when she leaves the room, well, that fact can't be physical because by the description of the case, she already knew everything physical about color vision. And it's what is it like to have a color experience. In particular, in the example we looked at, what is it like to see red? Similarly, so Nagel claims it's possible to know all physical facts about bat sonar, but not what it's like for a bat to have sonar experiences. What is it like for something to sound triangular? What is it like for something to sound circular or square? We don't know, and not only don't we know right now, but learning more objective facts, learning more physical facts about a bat wouldn't help us. We can know, in fact, says Nagel, all the physical facts about what a bat's experience is like, and yet we still wouldn't know what it's like for something to sound circular or to sound triangular. If we agree with those two examples, then it looks like we should be dualists. Okay, so that's the knowledge argument. In the next video, we're going to look a little bit more about, okay, so what's like, if we find the knowledge argument persuasive, what sort of view of the mind are we having? And then we'll consider a further dualist implication that Nagel draws in the last video.